Hello there, this is Critical from Critical Media, just taking a look at the 2023 release of the House of M Omnibus. This is a story spearheaded by Brian Michael Bendis, with the main series art coming from Olivier Coipel. But this book, it does contain a lot of the crossovers, most importantly for me, the Decimation story by Claremont. And what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across these books in the wild. So we'll go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now, this is the series that dropped way back in 2005, so this is just before I got back into comics. Basically, when I got back in, Wolverine Origins was going on, and go figure, it's yet another remnant from the aftermath of this series. But in terms of the exterior, this is a pretty big boy. This is a 1,300 page book. This is like the second biggest Omni I own, behind 100 Bullets. And yeah, in terms of the exterior, a pretty awesome cover here by Coipel. Yeah, very standard. It almost reminds me of one of the Uncanny X-Men releases. In terms of the spine, yeah, I wasn't kidding. This thing's heavy. Anywho, anytime I get to see my boy Magneto get his praise, awesome. I like the nice prominent design to it. Yeah, Magneto's like one of my favorites of all time. And just some reality warping on the back here. Very indicative of the plot, that's for sure. But yeah, since this is a pretty big one, let's just maybe take a look at that eye. So yes, it does pretty much open up well. I did try to make it breathe quite a bit. So it does its thing, that's for sure. As you can see, it does get kind of wide though. But anywho, at least underneath the dust jacket. Let's get that off there. Yes, it has this excellent scarlet hue to it. Very fitting, considering both Magneto, Scarlet Witch, the House of M as it is. So, very on point there. No lettering on the spine, but that's fine for me. And just the wraparound of the remaining members. So, very, I guess true to form in that respect. Now for bonus material. Again, it's pretty thick this time round. And I will say, at least this one, it seems a bit more poignant. Ironically, I have the Miracle Man Omni right over there where I feel like they overdid it. Like, I wish that one had a bit more content. But in this case, you know what? It's very fitting because I always like whenever they do these in-universe news articles. Like, it's very appropriate, I'd say. And plus, it's like another layer to the story. As a matter of fact, it's like getting even more story out of it. Very on point there. Always found like the flips on everything was on point there too. Just the changes to each character, hence why they did these character profiles. They do a very interesting method of trying to get you used to the new world that they're in by this little, what's the word? Yeah, this tour of mutantdom. So these little snapshots of different areas and little factoids about the universe they were in. Quite a lot of variants, a little bit of scripting. And I think it does pretty much end with, yes, just a lot of pencil design and some inks toward the end. At least I feel it does. Yeah, there we go. I knew I wasn't crazy. Alrighty, but not bad in that light. Now for art and plot points, I guess for those of you who maybe are more familiar with the aftermath of this, yeah, the whole No More Mutants thing. The whole story does begin where, yes, they're trying to heal Wanda from a pre-existing event where, yeah, she's had a mental breakdown, so she's basically secluded from society. They bring her to the ruins of Genosha to try and, work on her. So yes, of course you're going to bring in Xavier to get your mind right, right? But yeah, I will say, a lot of the Marvel, early 2000s work, yeah, like the Extremis gear, Spider-Man now joining the Avengers and whatnot, it's very present in this respect. But yeah, one thing I definitely appreciate is the fact that Coipel, he's on the series all around, at least the main story. And it definitely helps you just follow the, just the alterations to their universe. While anchoring Wolverine, who's like the one character who remembers everything, he's basically your vehicle for the whole story. So yeah, he remembers everything. And then, ironically, the byproducts of what happens after, right? But yeah, all in all, this is such a strong narrative. But I feel like one part of this book that doesn't get talked about is those dope, what's the word, Isari Beach covers. just so damn good. Oh yeah, even these designs to the modified Magneto Sentinels, man, I love those. But yeah, honestly, Celery Beach, I get it. He's getting the love he's getting or deserving now. But man, just so dope back in the day. I think Silver Surfer Requiem came out around this time too. But man, such a great story. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is one of those few times where there's an alternate universe, and I'm actually pleased with the alternate universe. I usually don't get down with those. But yeah, just basically boils down to the different stories, or should I say the spin-offs. Now, this book did get a bit of controversy when it was released or announced that they weren't really going to align the book, with the different tie-ins in between the main series. They kind of just separated everything. To some people it fits, to some people it doesn't. I'm kind of on the fence where I don't mind. It's still damn good. Although, admittedly, once I read House of M, I almost jumped immediately to Uncanny, any X title basically, and then went back to the Spider-Man one. But one book that definitely surprised me was the Pulse. I wish I read that when this came out, because that actually surprised me, both of them, actually. So, very on point in that respect. Yeah, just the fact that Claremont came back to do more X-related content, definitely appreciated, that's for sure. But anywho, yeah, as you're just kind of seeing, as I mentioned, yeah, it just kind of splits up into these different sections. So yeah, we have the Spider-Man one where, yeah, he gets basically what he always wanted. He's not the villain, he's the celebrity, almost. Almost kind of shows you what the real mind of Spider-Man was all about. Maybe a little bit more vain than we expected. Again, here we go right to the X titles. So yeah, any excuse for Claremont, man. One thing about him, he just stewarded the X titles so damn well. He just understands everything so well that it fits. So, man, go figure. I'm making such a big deal about Claremont, but honestly, he's like almost the unsung hero of this. That's for sure. And then, yeah, again, the very intriguing Wolverine title. What I liked about this is it had, what's his name, Daniel Way on it. And Daniel Way ended up doing the Wolverine Origins series. So I definitely appreciated the consistency. This is one of the few titles when it came out, or at least when I got back into comics, I actually went into. But yeah, very intriguing. I will say, outside of the main series, which is very thought-provoking, a lot of it is very surface level. But it doesn't take away from how awesome they can be on their own. Speaking of maybe the ones that could have used a little bit more work is this Iron Man one. I never read it before until now, but yikes. It's strange how Greg Pak, he's good in this. Not great, but good at storytelling. But this artist, Pak-Lee, it's strange how he's so good at the armor and the robots and all that. But when you see humans in it, yikes. The coloring could have been a lot better. Sure, it may not have been in his hands, but doesn't really excuse some of these designs on these human designs. Yeesh. It was kind of a rough read. And not to mention Greg Pak, he didn't show up like he usually does for other titles. Like right now he's doing Darth Vader. I love what he's doing with Darth Vader. Anywho, I guess that's detracting a little too much. My apologies. There is this one little spin-off, yes, with Brubaker's run on, of course, Captain America. Very on point. Probably one of my favorite parts to this. But then again, I'm a sucker for Cap. But yeah, this is this series I mentioned earlier where, yeah, the Pulse. It's almost like an in-universe account. And thankfully it's done with Michael Lark. Same dude who worked with, Ed Brubaker on Gotham Central. Not to mention that very visceral style he has. Like, it's very grounded the way he does his art. And in this case, yeah, as mentioned, it's more of a journalistic narrative, so it tends to have that more real-world sense and gravity to things. And yeah, go figure, your obligatory Cable and Deadpool. It's a story, I'll just put it that way. Probably one of my favorite parts of it, though, is just the way Mr. Sinister is depicted in it. Probably my favorite aspect of it. And speaking of bringing back unsung heroes, yeah, you have Peter David coming back to do Incredible Hulk. Definitely a different take, but once again, I've mentioned this before. For some reason, there's just certain authors that are just made for certain characters. Like, anytime he seems to come back for Hulk, it just seems better than at least what I usually tend to read from the Hulk. But yeah, very on point. Forgive me if I just keep flipping through. It's just I don't want to reveal too much while at least giving you a best kind of sample size of things. Again, here we go with Claremont. Like I mentioned, I just jump right into anything he does basically, or any X-Tile really. But yeah, just on point. I always like the way they flipped it with Jubilee. As a matter of fact, I almost felt she was more threatening in this House of M version of her than any other. That's just me, I guess. But yeah, very on point stuff. Yeah, man, so good. As mentioned, probably one of my favorite aspects of this book, though, is the decimation story. So that was the one that's basically about the aftermath, yes, here we go, of the events of House of M. And again, Chris Claremont. This was probably the one part of the story I read before everything else. As mentioned, this came out at the end of the House of M story, so just as I'm coming into comics, or at least coming back to them. But yeah, like, you want to talk about adding gravity to a story, this is how it's done. That's something I've noticed with Brian Michael Bendis. He's good at starting ideas, he's good at like these interesting concepts, but he just never seems to know how to finish them. He just like starts a series and then leaves it. He's good at the beginning, and then he's kind of just leaving you wanting for more. So that's why I was so glad that here comes Claremont to like wrap things up for him. Yeah, talk about a master. But yeah, overall, you will get other titles in here, not just these, House of M spinoffs, but even these tie-ins with like Black Panther and the Thunderbolts and whatnot. But anywho, I gotta say, it's a pretty beastie book, so I don't mind if folks are like more so looking for the digital copy of this. But it's not so much about my opinion at this point. Hopefully you guys got your own. No one mind seeing them in the comments down below, just as always. Y'all folks take care and enjoy the rest of your day.